Good morning, everybody. How you doing? It's great to be back at UCOP. Woo-hoo! Here we go. 1, 2, 3. All right. Woo! Here we go. Here we go. Well, we've been on this road forever, worn out thousands of our shoes, made trails through the mystery land, sang our praises, cried our blues, remembered all the lost souls, ones that we carry in our breast, and every winding road, all of the hurts we laid to rest. Come on and walk with me, my good friends, across over the great divide to the land of milk and honey. Stars are out, horizons wide. Come on and walk with me, my good friends, across over the great divide to the land of milk and honey. Hearts are open, Lord, and the vision is wide. Now there was some who thought that we would never make it to the promised land. Doubt and grief would overtake us, but then faith would lend a hand. When we walk this way together, I know goodness is within our reach. See all the fields of plenty, let's start living the dream of a peace. Come on and walk with me, my good friends, across over the great divide to the land of milk and honey. Stars are out, horizons wide. Come on and walk with me, my good friends, cross over the great divide to the land of milk and honey. Hearts are open, Lord, and the vision is wide. Well, I have faith, everything gonna be alright. Keep your eyes on the prize, and everything will be all right. All right. Come on and walk with me, my good friends, across over the great divide to the land of milk and honey. Stars are out, horizons wide. Come on and walk with me, my good friends, across over the great divide to the land of milk and honey. Hearts are open, Lord. You know the vision is wide. I know it is. So come on now, yeah. So come on, come on, come on, come on and walk, oh, walk with me, yeah. Everybody walk on this morning, walking with me, yeah. I said, Lord, walk on, yeah, oh, yeah. Everything gonna be all right.
Yeah. Right. Well, good morning. And welcome to Unity Church of Overland Park. Welcome to Kelly Hunt, who's joining us here today.
And Mark Allen.
Yeah, and a special welcome as well to Mark Allen Gossman, who was drumming. And you'll get to hear more from both of them here in just a little bit. But for right now, Reverend Carrie, would you open our service today with prayer?
Yeah, I'd like to do
All
that.
right.
That would be fun. Isn't prayer fun?
Yeah.
It is fun. So let's just take a deep breath and land right here, right now. And engage, remember with who we truly are. Realizing that as we are together here, we are shining a light far brighter than any one of our individual lights can shine. And we realize that today there are people in the world that need that light. So we hold them in that light. We hold ourselves in that space of love and joy, of gratitude for being able to be here today, for being able to fully express God in this wonderful freedom that we have here in this beautiful sanctuary. We are so grateful for infinite possibilities, for hope, and for joy. And we say thank you, God. Amen.
Greet your neighbors, particularly introduce yourself.
that joy, that love wash over us. And we breathe deeply, sinking into once more who we are, engaging that, remembering that as we move into the second week of Fall Faith, we are allowing ourselves to feel, to engage that which is beneath the surface, that which is keeping us from hearing that which is truly ours to hear. We allow ourselves to be present, knowing that we are guided, whether we realize it or not, into those spaces, into those places that we are brave enough to take a look at, that we are brave enough to feel, trusting that we are totally and completely safe in that space. For God is. God is. And we sink into that silence, sinking deeply, effortlessly, allowing that which is ours to know to arise, allowing that which is ours to express and feel to arise, loving whatever that is as a guiding light into a deeper way of being in the world. And so we sink into the silence. And we allow ourselves to float on that music, following those notes. Realizing the lightness and the grace and the peace that is who we are. And we engage that as we move forward. We engage that in every moment that comes in the next week. That light, that peace, that joy. And so it is. Amen.
Please join in singing us holy. Creator, you are
You felt broken and all alone. Your failures cut you to the bone. But listen to me. Think you have nothing to give, and the well is empty, no reason to live, but you have everything you need. It is all given to you. And now who will you give it to? Pass it on, pay it forward, and let it rain. Let it rain, rain, rain. Though someone betrayed you, drained you dry, open your arms, trust the sky, and be everything you were meant to be. Oh, outside. Reach out your hand and pour the water on this parched, dry land and give it everything until you are free. Oh, it was all given to you. Now who will you give it to? Has it all? Pay it forward and let it rain. Let it rain forward, let it rain down, let the healing waters solve the sacred ground. Let it rain miracles, let it rain love, let it rain from your heart, rain from above. Oh, let it rain. Let it rain, rain, rain. Pass it on. Pay it forward. Let it rain. Let it rain, rain, rain.
Well, welcome back to week 2 of Fall Faith. And I said at the first service, it feels a little odd for me that this is week 2, that we're in Fall Faith, because last week I didn't really have a whole lot to do for the service. So it's a very different Fall Faith this year, that I feel like I wasn't busy getting ready for last week. But welcome back. We have just a wonderful series planned as we take this opportunity this year, as we spend these next 5 weeks in small group study, looking at Charles Holt's book, but as we spend it focusing on spiritual practices that we can put into action in our lives to begin to be able to listen to that inner voice, that voice of truth, the voice of God, the voice of Spirit, whatever you want to call that presence that speaks within you. To be able to listen to it and to know that that presence is guiding and directing you throughout your life, that it's supporting you when chaos arises, when confusion, when anger and frustration, to be able to know that there's a voice that you can turn to, and a voice that's speaking within you that can guide you through those things. That's what this Fall Faith series is about. That's what this journey that we're going to go on, this adventure that we're going to go on, is all about. It's about finding ways to listen to that voice in greater detail. But it goes a little bit farther than that, because it's not just enough to listen to it. We can listen to it and tune it out all the time. In fact, we've gotten really good at that. Really good at being able to go, yeah, no, I hear you want me to go this way, God, but I'm going to go this way. That's not a new thing. There's a whole story in the scriptures about that, about a giant whale and a man that gets swallowed by it because he didn't want to listen. So this idea of listening to this voice, it's not something new, but here is what's new. And this is the only commitment I need you to make right now, but I want you to go into this whole series aware of the commitment that you're about to make. And that's that in order to be able to listen to this voice, you actually need to make the commitment to put into practice these steps that I'm talking about each week. You actually have to spend some time at least trying them on and seeing how they feel to you. That's sort of the way this spiritual path we call Unity works. As much as I would love to have Reverend Carey or myself just be able to wave our hands and save all of you, we can't. We need you to come along with us, to play with this stuff, to try it on and see, does it work? Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but at least take the steps to try. Does that sound good? You're willing to at least try a little bit? All right. I always love the people who are like, yeah, no, I can do that. And then the people are like, depends on what you say. I may not. So let's start with that, and then you can decide later on. I don't know how this works for you, but for me, the one thing that always gets in my way of hearing that voice of God, of hearing that voice of Spirit, is that external chatter, the garbage chatter. That's what Charles Holt calls it in Intuitive Rebel. He calls it this noise that happens around us that distracts us from the voice of truth. And I'm sure we've all experienced that in our lives. I know I've experienced it. Anybody that's ever had small children has experienced it. You're trying to focus on something, and they're in the corner with the piano, just ding, ding. And you can't quite hear because there's so much other noise going on. Well, that's how this voice of Spirit gets drowned out as well. You see, there's so much of this garbage that's going on in our minds. Some of it is self-inflicted. Some of it are things that were created based off of what other people told us we should be. And so we kind of bend and contort ourselves into these shapes to try and make ourselves into what it is that I think Byron is sitting there in the front row wanting me to be every Sunday. See? And so we try to do those things to make ourselves match that. So we hear those voices. There are times in our lives when we've done something, we've put ourselves out, we tried a new experience, we did something different, and it didn't quite go the way we thought it was going to. And so we adjust ourselves, we adjust our behavior based off of that experience. And so the next time that happens, that voice, that garbage chatter starts talking again. Anybody that's ever been on a stage and tried to perform and it didn't go quite as well as they've planned has experienced this the next time they tried to get up. Yeah, Mark, you know what that's like. That voice in the back of your head's going, what if they don't like it? What if something goes wrong? And that chatter distracts us from that voice of God, that voice of Spirit within us that's saying, but what if it all goes right? And that voice that says that as long as you trust in me, it's all going to go right. But we can't hear that because we've got our own garbage going on in our mind. And then let's add to that the garbage that goes on in the world around us. The garbage that shows up when we're watching nightly news stories that are going on about hurricanes and shootings and which candidate for president just got involved in what scandal and all of this stuff that goes on, and suddenly we're inundated with garbage, ours and everyone else's. And so we get to make the choice, which voice we listen to. And that's what this is all about. It's about choosing what you're going to listen to, choosing what it is that you're going to hear and act on in your life. You see, these voices can drag us down, this garbage chatter. It distracts us from the path we're supposed to be walking on. So as we begin this journey towards listening to that voice in a greater way, that's the first step for us to take, is to be aware of what it is that we're hearing and how we're acting on it. The third principle, the third basic unity principle, says that our thoughts create our reality. Our thoughts, our experiences, and our feelings, they create our reality. And so if we're walking around with that sort of garbage stuff going on in the back of our mind that tells us, well, I ought to apply for this job, and then that garbage voice goes, you're not smart enough for that. What do we think happens? If it says, I'd really like that new relationship, and there's that person, I ought to ask him out, but that garbage voice in the back of your head goes, they are so far out of your league, it's not even funny. What do we think happens? So simply being aware of what voice it is that we're listening to gives us the power to choose what we want to believe in our lives. You see, all of this garbage chatter, it shows up more often than not based off of an experience that we've had. And for all of us, that's a unique experience. My experience is not going to be the same as yours. There's something that'll happen that reminded you that this is the way the world works. But what I will say is true of all of our experiences is that in some way, shape, or form, it was a time in your life where you had the belief reinforced that you should doubt the wisdom that speaks within you. Or you had this belief reinforced that anytime you share your own uniqueness, you're going to get your hand slapped, so don't. Anytime that you had an experience where you were trusting that voice and it didn't work out, that's where these experiences come from. Now, they're unique to each one of us. My experience is absolutely not your experience. But because we've had them, they allow that garbage chatter to just go on replay in our mind over and over again. So what we have to do is begin peeling away those things that aren't the truth of who and what we are, those things that are lies about who and what we are. In Intuitive Rebel, the Fall Faith book we're studying, Charles talks about it like it's peeling away the layers of the onion. And I couldn't help when I read that but picture Shrek. And just that was what was going through my mind, was the idea of ogres have layers. Well, so do we. But the layers that we have are layers that we put there, or somebody else told us were there, and we believed, and those layers are getting in the way of the magnificence that's shining within us. So the work that we have to do is in peeling away what those layers are, what those layers say, what those layers tell us about the truth of who we are. And I started to say it's easy to peel those. It's easy to identify them. I'll put it that way. Because you hear, once you've become aware of listening to that sort of garbage chatter, you're going to pick up on a pattern. You're going to hear that every time you want to go introduce yourself, like, hi, I'm Brandon and I'm an introvert. So every time I want to go and introduce myself to this new person, in the back of my mind, that garbage chatter starts saying, they don't have any desire to meet you. You're wasting your time. They're in a conversation. You're interrupting them. Don't just go stand over here in the corner and watch them. But if I take time to really explore those sorts of noise that's in my head that tells me that, what I can begin to discover is what it was, what that unique experience was that gave me that belief that said that they weren't interested in talking to me in the first place. Maybe, just maybe, it was the time when I tried to introduce myself to some new people and they didn't act like they wanted to talk to me. So I told myself, well, that's the truth of who I am. That's true for all of it. So once I discover that, then I can peel away that layer that says that everybody does not want to talk to you. Now, like I said, some of these layers, they're thick. They're hard. They have been there for a long, long time. They're not easy to get rid of. I talked to somebody after the first service that said, yeah, no, I get it. Listen to the voice of God, but sometimes that's not easy to do. I said, well, what I would say is that it's not easy to hear that voice. It's that sometimes the work that's involved in that hearing is emotionally draining, physically draining, mentally draining. It can be hard to get rid of some of this stuff. So I have a couple of suggestions for you. The first is, don't dive into the deep end right away. Take some time and step back and start with the easy stuff. Don't sit there and go, all right, I'm starting with Dad. We're going to start dealing with all the things about Dad. Maybe start small. Because what we do is we start with the big stuff. We want to get the big stuff out of the way first. And then it gets hard. And it gets difficult. And we get tired emotionally, and we get sick of being upset about it, and we quit. So start with the small stuff. Work your way easily into this. But the other thing that I would tell you is that you have a community here at Unity Church of Overland Park that is willing to support you through the emotional work that you have to do as you release and let go and peel away the layers of this onion. If you're involved in a small group circle, a fall faith circle, you can share these ideas with your fall faith circle. You can talk about it in that group. If you're not doing a circle this year, that's okay. Might want to do one, but if not, that's okay. But we have prayer chaplains that are available to pray with you after every service. If you're going through letting go of one of those layers, find one of these prayer chaplains. In fact, would the prayer chaplains just stand right now? And this isn't all of them. But these prayer chaplains are scattered throughout this building. They're here in the sanctuary. They're out in the lobby. They're downstairs. They're by the Peace Chapel. They have orange name badges on them. They are willing to pray with you. If you're going through one of those difficult layers, Charles says some of those onions will squirt you in the eye. If you've just been squirted in the eye, one of these prayer chaplains will be here to pray with you. If you're really working through a difficult time and you're really struggling with it, did you know we have a spiritual counseling team? We have licensed professional counselors that will meet with you. You can pick up a brochure about them in the lobby. There are resources here. And of course, we've got Carrie and I. We'll meet with you too. We're more than happy to sit down and listen and help you move through those sorts of emotional, mental, physical things that you're going through. But what I want you to know is that we can only support you. We can't take the layer off for you. We can't peel it back for you. We can support you as you do it, but this is the sort of thing that you have to do on your own. And you begin just simply by making the commitment to be aware. To be aware of what that voice is telling you. To be aware of what you're hearing, what you're telling yourself. To be aware of those moments where you say, I can't, or I'll fail, or I'm not good enough, or I'm not pretty enough, or I'm not smart enough. To be aware of what immediately comes up. So that when you hear somebody say, well, they're all just out to get you, they're going to take everything you have, you can go, yeah, maybe, but I'm okay. Or when you hear something that says that don't even waste your time trying that, you'll never make it, you'll go, well, I'm going to try anyway, I'm okay. You can get to that place where we stop feeling like we have to bend and shape and mold ourselves into whatever the world outside of us wants to happen. You see, this Fall Faith series, this is a renewal, it's a revival. It's a revival of our ability to listen to the voice that matters, that voice of God. It's a revival of our ability to listen to what it is that voice is calling us to do and then use it to make a difference in the world around us. But before we can even begin to do that, we have to begin to learn how to tune into that voice in the first place. We have to do the work it takes to hear what that voice is saying. Our co-founder, Charles Fillmore, wrote this in his book, Adam's Smashing Power of Mind. And you can actually, this quote is in the Fall Faith curriculum. So if you haven't picked up a study guide, you can, and it's right there. But he wrote, you do not give attention to all you hear in the external. You discriminate as you listen. So in the development of this inner spiritual ear, take heed what you hear. That's what listening to this inner voice is all about. Having the awareness of what it is that you are hearing. See, there's two voices that are speaking to us. And in the Gospel of Matthew, it's written that let anyone with ears listen. Let anyone with ears listen. So we're all capable of listening. The choice we have to make is, do we listen to the voice of truth that's speaking words of encouragement, wholeness, love, peace to us, that's guiding us in ways to make a difference in our world, or do we listen to the garbage voice? that tells us that we're broken, that something's wrong and it needs to be fixed right now, that something's wrong with the world and it needs to be fixed. You see, we get to choose what voice we listen to. They're always going to be speaking. I really do. I wish that I had a Harry Potter type magic wand that I could wave and make all the garbage chatter just disappear. But it doesn't work that way. It will always be present. The difference is that we have the power to choose whether we listen to it or not. We have the power to choose to listen to the voice of God. And so at this point, that's the only commitment we're being asked to make. To listen to what that voice of truth is saying, and ignore all that other garbage. So for now, just listen and have a wonderful week. God bless you.
This time it wraps around you. This time it sets you free. This time don't hold back. This is who you're supposed to be. This time, well, why are you still waiting for your real life to begin? Standing in the shadow of where you've always been. Why let somebody tell you your life is not worth your dream? Why believe your power is something wrong or too extreme? Oh, this time it wraps around you. This time it sets you free. This time don't hold back. This is who you were born to be. This time, all right. Now there's a million new diversions to keep you from yourself, to distract you from